Hi, I'm here with a review of Emerald Blaze by Ilona Andrews. It is a urban fantasy romance novel set in alternative Houston, where in about the 19th century in this world, a serum was created which gave a select number of people magic abilities. It either killed you, gave you magic abilities, or turned you into a monster when you fairly rapidly died. The people who actually survived, and they quickly stamped down on the serum, so it's only select few, ended up turning themselves into houses, families, because this magic could be passed down through the generations that way, and they've set themselves up as very powerful magical families, sort of operating outside of governmental control. There's a lot of times where it's like, oh, the regular government will go, nope, that's a magical thing. And there is indeed a magical council. And Catalina Baylor, who we'll be following in this novel, is a deputy warden charged by this council to kind of police when things go wrong in the magical world where people cross the line. So yeah, various people in this world have magical powers ranging from the physical, like telekinetic, you can throw things around, or you can arrange molecules, to the mental, where you can read minds, or you can project fear, stuff like that. It's a series that has focused on the Baylor family and the three sisters of the Baylor family. The first three novels in this series followed Nevada Baylor. And her romance, because the core of all these books, her romance with Connor Mad Rogan, who is a billionaire inorganic telekinetic prime. Prime being, like, you've got the most power in this world, and all the main characters in this are all primes. He was a former soldier slash sort of weapon, and he and Nevada battled kind of a shadowy conspiracy through their books, and came head to head with a Victoria Tremaine, a very scary and very grandmotherly woman. Turns out through these books, probably one of the scariest villains of the thing. So yeah, Ilona Andrews is a husband and wife team. Starting Ilona is from Russia. Gordon is a former communications sergeant in the U.S. Army, and they met in a English composition class, and romance bloomed from there. The romance of English 101, composition 101. They live in Texas, where these books and her series, Kate Daniels series, which is like 10 books, is also set in the Texas area. I think that one is set in Atlanta, where this one is in Houston. So yeah, Emerald Blaze is following the second sister, Catalina Baylor, who is a siren. Her power is that when she talks, when she sings, she can make people fall in love with her obsessively. I mean, at first it's like they'll do everything she says, but it becomes so overpoweringly thing that they want to just rip her to pieces because they love her so much. And it's the romance in this book is between her and Alessandro Sagredo, a millionaire, billionaire, playboy, social influencer by night, ninja assassin by ninja assassin the other part of the time. With kind of a shadowy past, suspect motivations. He in the last book he left poor Catalina flat, just kind of iced her out and left, breaking her heart. And now he's back, because he's been hired to kill a guy to kill the murderer of a powerful prime. And Catalina, surprise, surprise, has been as the deputy warden of the thing, has been charged with trying to find the murderer. And so they have to team up, and he's going to protect her because definitely what part of this book is you got to protect the things. So yes, they've got to figure out they've been hired by a powerful prime whose son has been murdered to find out who the murderer is, and the suspects are the four or five other primes that he was in business with, working in this literal kind of money pit, a swamp area where they're trying to clear it out. It's got all sorts of magical toxins in it, as well as just kind of it's just a flood zone area. But if they can, if they can make it work, it'll make a whole ton of money because it's in the near the Houston area. It's prime real estate. But in addition to, obviously one of these primes is trying to kill them throughout the book. There is also a mysterious force, other in the swamp itself, something that's both organic and mechanical together, which shouldn't really be possible. And it's when Catalina reaches out, it's like she just gets the thing of the abyss, and that is indeed what it gets called, is the abyss, which has at the center of like all this organic matter, you find these whirling metal circles with a flower, glowing magical flower blossom at the center of it. So what the heck's going on there? Yes, and to add on to all this, Catalina has been regularly visiting her grandmother, who Victoria Tremaine, the evil matriarch of this family. There's another grandmother who's just good with mechanics and is just pleasant to be around. Victoria Tremaine is the evil matriarch. She also has kind of the true seeker prime powers, but she uses it to basically strip people's minds and turn them into vegetables if they don't do what she says, and has all sorts of schemes, and has obviously been very much an active force even while she is in prison. Due to events in books in the books past. So she's obviously Victoria Tremaine is probably the biggest threat here in books filled with monsters, conspiracy, weapons, and magic. She is the big thing. So yeah, that is Emerald Blaze. This kind of a mystery romance set in this kind of an urban fantasy thing. The big things with this book is, as always, is sort of the sense of family. Catalina is surrounded by not only Nevada, but another Arabella, the next sister, who's probably going to have her trilogy of books, and you start looking at various suspects, like who's going to be her romantic attachment? Will it be another millionaire playboy? Who's going to make her feel safe? Well, still respecting her being a kick-ass young woman. But there's also there's cousins, there's her mother, there's her grandmother, all who are around her. They operate a family business of a detective agency. Also, Catalina has to keep being a magical deputy warden on the down low. So they work as a unit. It's very much kind of family that way. If there's the wish fulfillment, which I'll get to, of the romance, there's also the wish fulfillment of, here is somebody who is firmly ensconced in a solid family of they're all protecting each other. And I mean, half the drama is, oh, I needed to protect you, I had to push you away because I didn't want you to get hurt. It's like kind of all that sort of great kind of that stuff, which it's basic, but it's also very effective. There is the romance in both, with Alessandro Segundo and with Connor. We have these incredibly ripped, incredibly sexy, magnetic, animally attractive guys with their superpowers, they spar and they try and be, oof, I'm going to tell you what to do, but the Catalina is like, no, you're not going to tell me what to do. But at the same time, when in her weakness, she knows that, oh, it feels so good to be pressed against his chest and have that thing. There's definitely explicit sexiness in these books. There's a climax, and then there's the climax of the book as well happening. So yeah, you get your sexy times, as the women from the Vaginal Fantasy Book Club used to say back in the day. That was that was that's probably how I got into some of the fantasy romance that I do today, is the Vaginal Fantasy Book Club. I should put a link to them. Well, I can't probably with this video because this will just float in ether, but look them up. Look them up. Definitely fun stuff. And also really good action scenes. There's like, there's whichever one of them has kind of the expertise in weaponry. I don't have any weaponry expertise myself, but it feels like they got some good details in there. And at the same time, just sort of how they kind of they use the magic in this system, and the systems of magic in the thing works pretty well. Maybe the climax was a little bit kind of hand wavium, super magic circle kind of stuff at the end, which is like a little less satisfying than some of the more kind of gritty physical battles that I've seen in past books. But yeah, no, it was fun. If there's negatives for the book, there's conspiracies and there's intrigues in these books, and I have to say, for the most part, it doesn't really interest me as much as the kind of the romance and the interpersonal stuff. And that part of that is just my own personal kind of like, what I care about. The other thing is, sometimes it feels just like intricacy for intricacy's sake, and you don't get, I don't get that investment in it, which the best intrigue, I think you start trying to figure it out yourself, whereas here I kind of just sit back and go, yeah, whatever it is, and I'll let it wash over me, because like I'm not going to figure it out. It's, whatever. There's also just a certain point where, and this is the thing of kind of romance books, is that this is a world that is set up for kind of heterosexual breeding. And that is on a world level. This is a magic world that's set up with families, and the families try and breed their children to make more powerful, prime users from the unions that are chosen. So people kind of select, like, oh, I'm going to marry you to you. Like, families will decide, we're going to marry this child to this child because it'll make they have complementary powers. They're both super powerful. There's sort of a horse breeding thing going on there. So there is those concerns that is actually mentioned with Nevada and Connor, that they don't have complementary things, and it's like, oh, will the magic work? Will this baby be a dud, which is what they call a product of a kind of union where the magic powers, they don't complement and they cancel out. And there's just also the thing of, this is a romance novel, so in some ways the reason for its being is these pairings up of, like, of course, Catalina and there's no question that these two are going to get together, and there's probably going to be breeding involved at some point. Maybe not productive breeding in this book, but so. There's a certain artificiality to that, which I think I'm supposed to just sort of take as take as part of the genre. A part of it is that there's maybe the intrigue and some of that stuff. Part of my brain just starts taking a step back, and I start looking at like wide things of like, oh, this is very kind of heteronormative. It's like, yeah, we've got it's very kind of family values. There's the positive of the family values of the group, but there's also the kind of this is a conservative world where when a man and a woman get together, they're going to want to get married, and they're going to have children, and they're going to have a family. And it's sort of there's a fairly in a world that anything can happen and magic happens, there's still very much we've set up a family. This is using the Western kind of family unit kind of organization, which is both comforting as when you're reading it, but also a little bit stultifying as a reader. I don't know. So yeah, I enjoy the book, but I do find my mind wandering off into these things. These are popcorn books. I don't think that's an insult. I think they're books that are here to entertain and to have some sexiness, have some action. It's just like, oh, okay, yeah, and it's kind of some fairly conservative in that as well. So yeah. So I enjoyed it, and I will probably do the next one on audiobook when it comes out at my library. So that is Alona Andrews, Emerald Blaze. More videos later.